Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming. We all make sure our cell phones are silenced. My name's Captain Dave Zanaboni, Santa Barbara County Fire Department. I'm one of the information officers here at the Whittier incident. Today we are breaking this this press briefing into two segments. The first one being current fire operations for the Whittier Fire, and the second one being the story of the rescue performed at the Circle V camp on the day the fire started. I'd like everybody to make sure they hold all their questions till the end. All the representatives that are speaking today will be available for questions at the end. At this time, I'd like to bring up Jimmy Harris, Deputy Fire Chief, Los Padres National Forest.
Good afternoon. So I have some information to share about the status of the Whittier Fire as of this afternoon. So the Whittier Fire, as we all recall, started last Saturday afternoon about 1:30 under a hot heat wave that was prolonged, and the fuels were cured out, and the fire quickly became established and ran up and over the hill. I think at the end of the first evening, we were looking at about 7,800 acres of fire line to try to contain. We went into unified command with our partners at Santa Barbara County Fire, Santa Barbara County Sheriff, and CAL FIRE. Then following day, we in-briefed Incident Command Team 3 with Incident Commander Mark Montillo, who's still currently in command of the incident. Current size is 13,200 acres, and we've achieved 52% containment at this point. Fire is continuing to burn inside the footprint of the 1955 Refugio fire, which means it's burning in an area that hasn't burned in over 62 years. Extremely heavy fuel, extremely dry from the drought that we saw the last 5 years, and is giving us a lot of challenges as far as constructing direct line around the perimeter of the fire. Access is limited, especially on the southern side of the Santa Ynez Range. It's very cliffy, it's very canyony, and very rocky, and we just have not been able to gain a good foothold on this side of the fire. And we're on the south side here. We have used a heavy attack with the aerial resources, so you've probably seen a lot of aircraft flying. We're slowing the southern downhill spread as much as we can with retardant and air tankers. Yesterday we had 12 air tankers flying for most of the day. We had 7 Type 1 helitankers. We have a mobile retardant plant off of Highway 154, which is helping those helicopters deliver retardant precisely on the edge of the fire where we need it. We also activated 2 CL-415s, which are the super scoopers, we call them, and they're filling up off of Lake Cachuma on the backside with a short turnaround with water. So we're really applying as much pressure as we can from the air. In the evenings, we've been using the Forest Service Night Air Attack, which is a ship flying around at night doing reconnaissance, infrared mapping, and giving us on the ground the best information we can have. We've also used Helicopter 531, which is the only night flying Forest Service helicopter that's been here since the beginning, and we anticipate having that thing used as long as we need it. On the southern end of the fire, we're seeing that downhill progression, and we're expecting that to continue through this evening with the sundowner winds. And we've prepared the structures, the ranch houses, the orchards and groves with an indirect line behind those to try to prepare to hold that fire as it comes off the hill. We boosted up our resources by 380 firefighters for the battle this evening. That includes 6 additional hotshot crews, 5 additional Type 3 strike teams, and 6 additional strike teams of Type 1 engines. That's the current information I have, and I'll be available for questions afterwards. Thanks.
Thank you, Chief. You can sit. I'd like to introduce Bernard Malekian, Undersheriff, Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department.
Good afternoon. I'd like to talk to you a little bit this afternoon about the evacuations that are in place for the Whittier Fire. At 11 a.m. today, due to the forecasted changes in our current weather conditions, the Sheriff Office, in coordination with Incident Command, ordered evacuations of the following areas. All of Winchester Canyon Road, West El Capitan Ranch Road, excluding the communities of Winchester Commons and the Wagon Wheel Langlo Ranch Road community. In addition, Calle Real north to West Camino Cielo from Winchester Canyon Road on the east to El Capitan Ranch Road on the west. This evacuation order alert was sent to 372 phone contacts in the area. Term phone contact refers to the number of phone lines that actually received the alert and not necessarily the number of residences. Sheriff's deputies and our Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Search and Rescue team today went door to door to ensure that everyone was aware of the evacuation order. The expected weather change, specifically sundowner wind patterns, is likely to occur this afternoon and intensify throughout the evening. Therefore, the Sheriff's Office thought it critical to order the evacuation earlier in the day so as to allow people to move during daylight hours. This order will also allow fire personnel access to the narrow roads in the evening when it will be most critical. A reminder that an evacuation order remains in effect for the following areas: Highway 154 from Armour Ranch Road to Paradise Road, West Camino Cielo at Highway 154 to the Winchester Canyon Gun Club, Kinnavan Road. Highway 154 is also closed from Highway 246 to Foothill and Cathedral Oaks. No one should be in these areas except public safety responders. If you are in the mandatory evacuation zone, you are in a zone that has been determined that there is an existing or imminent threat to life and property, and you should leave immediately. The following areas are still under evacuation warning and include Las Vegas Canyon east to Winchester Canyon, Highway 101 north to West Camino Cielo, Paradise Road from 154 to the First River Crossing, and Farron Road. If you are in an evacuation warning zone, it means there is a strong likelihood that you are in a location where there could be threat to life and property, and you should be prepared to leave on very short notice. An area under evacuation warning can be upgraded to an evacuation order very quickly. Therefore, it is time to gather pets, valuables, critical documents, prescriptions, etc., so that if you had to leave suddenly, you could take these things with you. Please do not wait to make necessary preparations at the last minute. If you are in an area covered by an evacuation order, it is important that you leave as quickly as you can. If you delay evacuating, you not only put your safety in jeopardy, but you increase the risk to the lives of our first responders. Please know that we do not issue evacuation orders lightly, and if you receive an order to evacuate, we ask that you leave as quickly as possible. Most of the areas under expanded evacuation orders are very difficult to access. This means that they have very limited ingress and egress routes, and if you wait till the last minute, you are going to hinder the efforts of firefighting personnel. The American Red Cross Evacuation Center is located at San Marcos High School, and they do have the capacity to assist with small animals. For current fire information or resource information, please refer to the County of Santa Barbara's website at countyofsb.org. We specifically ask that people do not call 911 to make inquiries about the fire. Doing so ties up our emergency lines and may prevent people with life-threatening emergencies from getting needed assistance. We will keep you updated on any changes with respect to areas under evacuation orders and warnings. And again, we ask that you please plan ahead and assist us in assisting you. Thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'd like to introduce Eric Peterson, Santa Barbara County Fire Chief.
Our briefing today represents a firefighting operation that reflects lessons learned from past events. Santa Barbara County has a fire history notorious for life and structure loss. Most of us here in Unified Command were here for the Paint, Jesusita, Zaka, T, Sherpa, Ray, and many other fires here in this county. In an abundance of caution, we have increased the amount of personnel, firefighting aircraft, and fire equipment significantly to meet the threat of this new wind event that we're expecting. We are putting down thousands of gallons of fire retardant, miles of hand line and dozer lines, and hose line. Our sheriffs and search and rescue and CHP personnel in charge of evacuations and traffic control are the best in the business. This is a unified command in every sense. Most of us have worked together for decades, and we know this territory. We have utilized our California mutual aid system, which is the absolute best in the world. We have resources here from all over the state, and even some from out of the state. The one thing we can't do is control the weather. We are doing everything we can to mitigate it, but if the wind comes up enough, this fire will most likely spot in front of the line and then spread. Undersheriff Malekian has mentioned this, but it bears repeating. If you are in an area that is now under mandatory evacuation, please leave. If you stay and wait until the last minute to leave, you will likely put yourself at risk, hamper firefighting efforts, and endanger firefighting and law enforcement officers. We all stand together with one goal in mind: put this fire out, and then get you back in your homes, and get our personnel home safely. Please help us to do that. Thank you. I'd like to introduce our Unified Incident Commander, Mark Von Tillo.
Hi, good afternoon. We're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about July 8th, Saturday, the day that the fire started. I'm going to give you an overview of my local knowledge. I've worked on this district since 1987. I have very intimate knowledge of where the fire started and the topography and everything around it. Upon initial alarm of getting it, the temperature at the time was about 110 to 112 degrees. We were very prepared for a fire weather type of day. Really about 3 miles into the response, I could see smoke. I immediately called for law enforcement for evacuation and also ordered additional air tankers, knowing that the fire weather was upon us, knowing where the fire was seated and the potential that it had. When I arrived on scene, I was immediately faced with people coming out of two camps, Camp Whittier and Camp Circle V. Camp Whittier was self-evacuating at the time. They were adults. They had vehicles. And as they were coming out, I was approached by Circle V, the counselor there who I'd worked with before on some other training assignments. He advised me that they had 80 children in the canyon. Do I need to evacuate? And I said yes. He advised that they didn't have any transportation. I said, don't come down the road. Stay there. We'll figure out a way to get you out. And Ray trusted that. He went back with those folks. And as time went through and we evacuated Camp Whittier, the focus then was on the Circle V folks. And I'm not going to go into the details of that. We're going to bring some folks up that were up the canyon. My job that day was the incident commander to lay out the plan for everybody, orchestrate it. I certainly was not the one in the canyon, but I had responsibility for all of those people and the people under my command. So with that, I'm going to introduce you to Division Chief Steve Oakes from Santa Barbara County Fire.
Thanks, Mark. I was the duty chief that weekend and responded on an initial attack to go out and meet up with Chief Von Tillo. Arrived on scene and asked Von Tillo, what do you need? He said, we have 63 kids up the Circle V camp and that we need to be evacuated. I'm making you evacuation group. So that would be a group supervisor, someone in charge of handling the evacuation. I met with the sheriff unit, and we said said that we have camp kids up at the Circle V, and we need to evacuate. I made multiple attempts to send sheriff units up the road, but the fire intensity at the time was too great, and as it was burning on both sides of the road. Sometime later, early on, Patrol 37 arrived, and I asked Von Tillo if I could have him. He said, he's yours. I walked up to the driver's window, Patrol 37, and had a face-to-face with Dave Dahlberg. I remember thinking how young he seemed, so I was very clear with my instructions. I said, I'm evacuation group. You're working for me. We don't have a TAC channel, so we'll be on command. And that was in an effort to secure communications that I would have with him later on. I said, I need you to make access to the camp kids, keep them calm, and let them know we're coming to get them out. I asked, are we good? And he acknowledged. Moments later, I tried sending a few more sheriff vehicles up the road, but the fire wouldn't let them through. Patrol 37 then radioed me and said he made it and he's with the kids. That was a huge sense of relief for me to know that we had somebody up the canyon and was able to try to keep those kids calm. Patrol 37 confirmed that there were 63 kids plus counselors for a total of 80 personnel. The fire intensity was increasing at the mouth of the canyon, and I asked if he could shelter them in place. He said he could, and I asked a little incredulously, all 80? And he said yes. I said, keep them all there. We're working out a plan to get them out. Lieutenant Brian Olmstead came up to me, and I explained the situation. I've worked with Brian over the past 20 years on many different incidents. He's with the Sheriff's Department. I said, the kids are sheltered. Patrol 37 is with them. Let's get enough squad cars here to try to get the kids out. Olmstead agreed, and I handed off coordination and securing the vehicles to him. During this time, Santa Barbara Dozer 1, Mark Linane, had offloaded and was working on the Camp Whittier side when he heard radio traffic and the difficulty we were having getting vehicles up to the camp. He told me afterward that he knew his all-metal dozer could take a lot more heat than the vehicles, so he started up the Circle V Camp Road. For the next 90 minutes or so, I kept in contact with Patrol 37 to monitor the situation while the fire intensity could lessen on the road. Battalion 540 arrived on scene as the fire intensity was lessening, and he made his way up to the camp and tied in with Patrol 37 and Santa Barbara County Dozer 1. I left Brian Olmstead in charge below and headed up the canyon about 20 minutes after Battalion 540. I told Olmstead I would call him on his frequency after I checked the road, and we would bring everybody up at one time. Up at the camp, we had Patrol 37, Dozer 1, Battalion 540, and myself. I radioed Olmstead to bring everybody up. I walked up, made contact with Ray Lopez from the camp, and explained our plan to bring everyone out. We brought all the kids and counselors out in front of the dining hall, and I briefed them on what we were going to do, and that we were all going to go out together. I explained that we were going to leave like a big snake, and that big yellow bulldozer over there was going to be the head of our snake. At the time, I was thinking calling it a train, and in my mind, the train seemed dangerous because cars can get derailed and fall off, and so why I came up with a snake and decided that was less dangerous, I don't know. Brian Olmstead arrived up at the camp, followed by multiple search and rescue vehicles. As the search and rescue vehicles were turning around to form our snake, Lieutenant Olmstead briefed the group one more time. Ray Lopez asked if we could put a counselor in each of the vehicles with the kids, and Brian and I thought that that was an excellent idea. We also used counselor cars and headed down the mountain with Dozer 1 leading, the search and rescue vehicles behind that, and then about 5 or so counselor cars behind them, and then Brian Olmstead, the lieutenant, following up the tail to make sure everybody got out okay. Patrol 37 then headed down as Battalion 540 and myself were closing doors and windows of structures and cars to prepare for the fire to come on into the camp. Battalion 540 then headed down, and I left a short time later. I wanted to say that this is kind of how the story. We're going to have some other folks come up and kind of give their part, but the real story here is, I think, the cooperation with multiple agencies all forming together, trying to do a single purpose. Before I leave and hand it over, the other day somebody asked me how long did it take to prepare for this, and I said 20 years. And I've been fighting fire on the front country and the Los Padres Forest with Mark Vontillo for the last 30 years here. Battalion 540, I've known since he was a reserve firefighter at our station in Buellton, and like I already said before, Lieutenant Olmstead, we kind of grew up together. Him in the sheriff's office and me in the fire service. The only one I didn't really know in this event was Dave Dahlberg, who's becoming my new best friend. But because of the relationship that we had with the Forest Service, there's a mutual respect and a confidence we have in each other's agencies, and that's, in my opinion, the real story, how we can pull together for various situations and come out with a positive outcome in that. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Neil Gowing. He was one of the sheriffs that I tied in with early on and tried to send up the canyon.
Good afternoon. My name's Neil Gowing. I was the patrol sergeant working the day the fire broke out, and I was responsible for coordinating the evacuations of the sheriff's office. Immediately upon the fire breaking out, we had evacuated Camp Whittier and the Cachuma Lake campground, and we moved over to evacuate the Circle V ranch. Upon doing so, I met up with Chief Oaks, and he had indicated to me that he had several children that were trapped or up at the camp that we needed to get out. They didn't have vehicles. We initially sent one deputy up the roadway to try and get up to the kids, and it indicated to me he was not able to make it up due to the fire. Shortly thereafter, Mr. Dahlberg ended up going up the road, and we followed behind him with myself and 8 other sheriff's deputies to try and get up to the kids. As we were making our way up the roadway, approximately a minute after Mr. Dahlberg went up, we were driving through a pretty significant amount of burning debris that was on the roadway. There was trees falling down on the roadway, and we made it maybe a mile up the roadway before we encountered an area of vegetation that had not burned through yet. As it was burning, I'd stopped to evaluate if we were going to continue, and within seconds, the entire shrubbery and trees engulfed in flames, and the roadway was covered, leaving a complete wall of flames in front of us. Based on the fire that was in front of us, I chose to bring the deputies out. I met back up with Chief Oaks and indicated that the road was not passable and we couldn't make it up, and that we requested additional fire personnel to go up and clear the road so that we could get vehicles up to get to the kids. At that time, Chief Oaks had indicated that Mr. Dahlberg had made it up to the camp, that he was able to shelter the kids in place, and that he was able to defend the area while the kids were there. So I therefore reallocated our resources to continue evacuations to the east of the fire until Chief Oaks had told us it was clear. We also coordinated our search and rescue units to be available to respond up to get the kids once we were told it was clear. After doing that, again, several hours later, we were told it was clear, and we coordinated with Chief Oaks to send our search and rescue units up. In closing, all I can really tell you guys is that I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been involved in multiple fires, multiple evacuations. This is probably the most intense fire I've had break out in a highly populated area where there were so many people we had to get out in such a short time. And as Chief Oaks said, I think the only reason that we were successful in making sure that no one was injured or killed was because of the cooperation between our agencies. It was honestly amazing to see. So with that, I'm going to introduce you guys to David Dahlberg, who is the Los Padres fireman that made it up to the camp. Oh, and real quick, at the end of this press conference, you're going to be given a press release. The Sheriff's Department's actually going to release some of the video from my patrol car that actually shows the conditions of the road and the fire, as well as Deputy Dave Wickland's patrol car, who was the deputy directly behind me. So there will be a short clip that we'll give you a link to that will be embedded in the press release. Thank you.
Hello. All right. So we know that there's kids up on the hill in Circle V Ranch, and that's where my side starts. I met with Chief Oaks as well as Vontillo, and we got a plan together of what my responsibilities were going to be. And I needed to get up the hill to assess the situation of the camp. And I knew that there was these kids up there. So I was able to make access into the camp through all the smoke and flames and all the debris on the road. It was tough at some points. Smoke covered the entire road, but I was able to make it. When I got up there, I met with Ray, who was a camp leader. And he immediately asked if we could get out, and I told him the road was very unsafe and that we are going to stay in place. I I worked with Ray and the other counselors to keep them calm because that would keep the kids calm. I reassured them that we were in a safe place and that we would all get out safely. I spoke with Ray and got a head count of everyone at the camp and relayed back to Steve Oakes that there were 80 people total on site. It seemed like minutes, but it probably was closer to 2 hours when I first saw County Dozer 1 arrive at the camp. We spoke immediately, and he started cutting fire line around the camp. During this time, there were a lot of helicopters and air tankers that were making drops just below the camp where we could see the flaming front of the fire moving towards us. Approximately another hour had passed, and search and rescue vehicles began arriving at the camp. And I'd like to now introduce Nielsen Trickler from Santa Barbara County Search and Rescue.
Good afternoon. My name is Nelson Trischler. I'm with the Santa Barbara County Search and Rescue Team. I'm one of the incident commanders, and I was present that Saturday on this rescue. When the fire began, our team was paged out within 15-20 minutes. We normally are paged out for evacuations to assist the Sheriff Department. On our way up San Marcos Pass Road, we got a call that we needed to assist in evacuation of approximately 80 people out of the Circle V campground above Camp Whittier. We initially staged at the entrance to the Rancho San Marcos Golf Course in Live Oak, and that's where we organized ourselves. We were ready to go, but after several attempts, because of the fire, we had to stand by and just wait. When we finally did get the go-ahead to move, we drove up to the entrance of Camp Whittier. We all lined up and went in together. Unfortunately, we didn't all make it there at the same time because on our way, half our vehicles were stopped with fallen tree logs, burning oak trees, which we had to pull out chainsaws and saws and cut up before we could proceed on. Upon entering the camp, as I was driving by one of the lower buildings, I could see the fire was actually looking up on the side of the back side of the building. And just about that time, a water dropping helo came by and dropped a load right on top of us. So that was very nice to see. When we arrived at the camp, I was actually kind of amazed. Everything looked organized. They were calm. The kids were lined up. Our assignment was basically go up to the camp counselors, tell them how many people we could take in each vehicle. We gathered the kids along with the counselor, and we loaded the vehicles. Once our vehicles were loaded, we formed a line, formed that snake, and we proceeded down the canyon following the dozer, which was clearing the fallen logs that had occurred after we drove by. As we were going by many hot spots, we actually could feel the heat of the fire coming through our windows. I was amazed by the kids. I had 10 kids and a couple counselors in my vehicle, and I was amazed that they were calm. They were under control. They weren't panicking. They were actually even singing some songs on the way down. Once we reached the bottom of the road, we coordinated with the folks from the Chumash band. They had a couple of their large luxury Chumash buses there, which was very nice, and we'd like to thank them a lot for providing those services. Once we turned the kids over to the van to transport back to San Ynez, we then completed that assignment, and we continued our evacuations for the rest of the fire into late that evening. Myself and others will be available here afterwards for questions, and thank you very much for coming.
My name is David Fields. I am the Executive Director of the Society of St. Vincent de Paul of Los Angeles. Since 1908, our nonprofit has been providing aid to the hungry, the homeless, the working poor, regardless of race, origin, religion, or gender in Los Angeles, Ventura, and Santa Barbara counties. Of course, our crown jewel is the St. Vincent de Paul Circle V Ranch Camp. Founded in 1945 and located on 30 acres in the Los Padres National Forest across from Lake Cachuma in Santa Barbara County. Since 1990, we have been on lease or permit with the U.S. Forest Service. On Saturday, July 8th, 2017, it was the fourth day of our Circle V Ranch Camp's session 2-week holiday camp session with fun and activities and fellowship for 88 campers ranging in ages from 7 to 16, coordinated and cared for by 36 staff and counselors on site, all CPR and first aid certified and trained. Circle V Ranch Camp is accredited by the American Camp Association. It's the only national association that accredits all types of camps based upon 29 national standards for health and safety. Approximately at 1:40 p.m., our camp director and senior staff saw smoke from the Lake Conchuma area and immediately drove down the 1-mile forest road to investigate. First responders at our entrance near Highway 154 told them to go back and evacuate Circle V. They immediately implemented the emergency evacuation procedures. All 124 people, 88 campers, and 36 staff were accounted for and ready to evacuate in staff vehicles as instructed by the first responders. As the road became difficult to travel due to the fire, 30 campers and 12 adult staff members were able to make it to safety to the evacuation point. The remaining 58 campers and 24 adult staff members were instructed by lead staff to turn around and to shelter in place. They did this inside the dining lodge in the main area of the camp. Camp staff and counselors kept campers calm by singing camp songs, playing games, and watching a movie. There were 58 campers and 24 adult staff members awaiting rescue at this point. Staff was instructed by U.S. Forest Service Officer David Dahlberg and Dozier operator Mark Lanane, and in our world we call them our guardian angels, who reached them first to hose down the Downing Lodge building and shelter inside and be ready to act. All 82 people were ready to go when Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Search and Rescue Squad arrived, loaded everyone into their vehicles, and reached the evacuation point on Highway 154 by approximately 5:40 p.m. We thank the Santa Ynez Band of Chumash Indians for sending 2 of their buses to meet evacuees there and to take everyone to safety. As per our emergency evacuation procedure, we went to the old Mission Santa Ynez Parish Hall in Solvang, where everyone was able to gather together with camp and St. Vincent de Paul volunteers who provided pizza, water, games, movies, and fellowship for the campers and staff. Parents and guardians were notified that they could pick up their children at the Mission in Solvang or via chartered buses that took them to their regular pickup points in Ventura and Los Angeles counties. The Circle V staff and counselors performed professionally, compassionately, and calmly throughout the entire experience. We are so proud of how they cared for everyone and made sure they were safe. My executive staff and I were able to greet the returning children and their families when they arrived back in LA at 10:30 p.m. All campers were reunited with their families by 11:15 p.m. Saturday night. We are very grateful for everyone who worked tirelessly together to get everyone out safely on Saturday. Thank you so much to so many, including the U.S. Forestry Service, Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office, Fire Department, Search and Rescue, Old Mission Santa Ynez, and countless volunteers who shared their experience and strength and hope. Everyone is safe. This is such a blessing. Yes, we did lose our craft shack and our health office cabin by the fire. Our water treatment facility and pipes are seriously damaged, requiring months of repairs. So we had to cancel the remaining sessions of sessions for our 2017 Circle V Summer Camp. We will rebuild and welcome donations to help with this effort. On behalf of all of us at St. Vincent de Paul and our beautiful Circle V Ranch Camp, thank you and God bless you all.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, little Q&A here. We're going to try to keep it, I'm going to try to keep it moving along. 15, 20 minutes of questions. try not to repeat questions, and the appropriate member here will be able to answer the question as best he can, hopefully. Okay? Question? Yeah, I believe that Dave, who just spoke with us, had the correct numbers, and that was, I'll read it to you, what was in his statement. It was 58 campers and 24 adult staff. Total of 80. Correct?
So they actually sheltered in place. As soon as I got there, they were already in the dining hall, and they continued to be there the whole time. All the kids were in the dining hall, and a handful of staff members were outside helping me with some of the tasks that we needed to get done. Approximately about 600 to 700 feet from where we were sheltering in place.
We sent out alerts to 372 people. I don't have an exact count on residences. The latest count as of about an hour before this press conference started was we have personally contacted about 2/3 of the residents and businesses inside the new zone.
So I got initially dispatched to this when the first initial call came out. And then when I headed up the road and got to Circle V Ranch, I was approximately there for about 2 hours before I saw County Dozer Operator 1. And then another hour past that from the search and rescue, roughly. Training. Years ago, I took a training class that my forest provided for me, and it was a class that is an engine boss and a crew boss type class. And one of our exercises was going out to Circle V Ranch, and the situation we were given when we got to the camp was there was a simulated fire that happened between Highway 154 and the camp, and our access was cut off. So it was training.
Yeah, currently it's under investigation. That's all we can release.
Well, we can't all be here. Somebody's got to be working. And right now, he's up on the hill punching in some more dozer line. So I got briefed with him, sat down and got kind of his part of the story, but there'll be another time and place when all of us get in a room and do that. Right now, we've still got quite a firefight coming on our hands, so he's preparing for that. No, it's Mark Linane. Yeah. Junior. Yeah.
Yeah, currently, we do have plans in place right now, and we've been working with the sheriff and local law enforcement for what if the fire comes all the way. CHP as well on the freeway. We're basically backed up to the ocean at that point. So, we look at it, we're going to try to hold it where it's at. As far as contingency any further to the south, you've got the big blue.
It looks like one last question.
Yeah, San Marcos High School is still available to the Red Cross, and if you need to evacuate to the North County, San Ynez Valley Elementary School is available.
Okay, so this is going to conclude the press briefing today. I just want to let everybody know that we do have a Spanish-speaking translator available that can help with any one-on-one interviews. And we have a representative from Air Pollution Control District. That'd be Liz Hoffman. She's right over here. And also from Public Health, Dr. Charity Dean, who is also right over here if we have any questions that are available for one-on-one. Okay, thank you for coming.